The massive ship floated in the cold darkness beyond Pluto. It was shaped like a giant sea creature, with smooth curves and strange lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the ship, tall alien beings moved through corridors that glowed with soft blue light. Commander Thelvos stood before a wall of screens showing images of Earth. His forearms moved quickly across glowing panels as data flowed past his large dark eyes. The planet looked so small and blue from this distance, so peaceful, so easy to conquer. The third planet shows no signs of advanced technology, reported one of his officers. Their energy signatures are primitive, chemical rockets, basic radio, signals. They cannot even leave their own star system properly. Thelvos nodded his elongated head. The Velkari Empire had done this many times before. Find a world with useful resources. Study the local species. Crush any resistance. Take what they needed. Move on to the next target. How many of them are there? He asked. Approximately 8 billion of the dominant species. They call themselves humans, carbon-based bipeds, very fragile. Their military technology is laughably weak. The commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 8 billion was a good number, enough to provide useful labor after they broke the species' spirit. Not so many that disposal would be wasteful. Begin final preparations, Thelvos ordered. Admiral Kethamar wants this conquest completed quickly. The Emperor is eager to claim this system's resources. Far below on Earth's surface, Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. The numbers didn't make sense. For 3 days, his equipment had been detecting strange patterns in space, tiny changes in gravity, odd radio, signals that appeared and disappeared. Something was out there. Still working late? Bo-Ra Lee walked into the monitoring station carrying 2 cups of coffee. She was the best sensor operator he had ever worked with. If anyone could make sense of these readings, it would be her. Look at this, Hyun-Woo said, pointing to the display. See these gravitational anomalies? They're too regular to be natural, and they're all coming from the same general area beyond Pluto. Bo-Ra set down the coffee and leaned closer to the screen. Her eyes widened as she saw the data. How long have you been tracking this? Since Monday. At first I thought it was equipment error, but I've checked everything 3 times. The readings are real. Bo-Ra pulled up another display and began typing quickly. If these gravity readings are accurate, there's something massive out there, really massive, like a small moon. That's impossible, Hyun-Woo said. We know everything in our solar system larger than a few kilometers across. There's nothing that big beyond Neptune, unless it came from somewhere else. They stared at each other in silence. Both knew what the other was thinking, but neither wanted to say it out loud. After all these years of searching for signs of alien life, had they finally found it? We need more data, Bo-Ra said finally. And we need help. Hyun-Woo picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in over a year. Jinho, it's Hyun-Woo Kim at the monitoring station. I need you to come in, tonight, and bring your analysis software. Jinho Park arrived 2 hours later. He was a former military strategist who now worked as a consultant for civilian defense projects. Most people thought his job was boring. They didn't know that Jin-Ho spent his time thinking about the unthinkable. Alien invasion, nuclear war, asteroid impacts, all the disasters that kept government officials awake at night. "Show me what you have," Jin-Ho said without bothering with small talk. Hyun-Woo and Bo-Ra walked him through their data, the gravitational readings, the strange radio signals, the fact that whatever was out there seemed to be moving in a pattern. Jin-Ho studied the information for 20 minutes without speaking. His face grew more serious with each passing moment. "This formation," he said finally, pointing to a cluster of gravity signatures. "I've seen this before." "Where?" Bo-Ra asked. "In war games, military simulations. It's a standard scout formation for orbital reconnaissance. You position your ships in exactly this pattern when you want to study a target from multiple angles while staying hidden." Hyun-Woo felt his stomach drop. "Ships?" "Multiple large objects moving in coordinated patterns, staying just far enough away to avoid easy detection, taking time to study their target before making a move." Jin-Ho looked up at them. "If I didn't know better, I'd say we're being watched by an invasion fleet." At that moment, So Young-Choi burst through the door. She was the station's communications specialist, and she looked excited and terrified at the same time. "I've been picking up transmissions," she said breathlessly. "Encrypted signals from the same area where you're detecting those gravity anomalies. The encryption is like nothing I've ever seen. It's not human." She pulled up her analysis on another screen. Waves of data flowed past, showing radio signals that pulsed in complex patterns. "I've been trying to decode them for hours," So Young continued. "The structure is completely alien, but there are mathematical patterns, references to stellar coordinates, and something else." "What?" Hyun-Woo asked. "Numbers that match Earth's orbital characteristics, our planet's mass, the composition of our atmosphere. Whoever is sending these signals knows a lot about our world." The room fell silent. 4 people stared at screens showing evidence that humanity was not alone in the universe, and whatever had found them was studying Earth very carefully. Jin-Ho was the first to speak. "How long do you think they've been out there?" "Based on the data patterns, at least 2 weeks," Bo-Ra replied. "Maybe longer." "Then they've had time to learn everything they need to know about us," Jin-Ho said grimly. "Our military capabilities, our population centers, our weaknesses." Hyun-Woo turned to So Young. "Can you keep monitoring their communications?" "Already on it. But there's something else you should know." She pulled up another display. "The signal strength has been increasing over the past few days. Whatever is sending these transmissions is getting closer." Bo-Ra checked her gravitational readings. "She's right. The anomalies are definitely moving inward, slowly but steadily." Jin-Ho began pacing around the small room. "This fits the pattern. Extended reconnaissance phase to gather intelligence. Gradual approach to avoid triggering defensive responses. When they're ready, they'll move fast." "How fast?" Hyun-Woo asked. "If this really is a military operation, they won't give us time to prepare once they start their final approach. Hours, maybe. Certainly not days." So Young's equipment suddenly erupted with activity. New signals flooded her screens, much stronger than before. "They're increasing transmission frequency," she reported. "It's like they're sending final reports." "To who?" Bo-Ra asked. "To whoever sent them here," Jin-Ho answered. "If this is a scout fleet, they're reporting back to a larger force, telling them Earth is ready for conquest." Hyun-woo looked around at his small team. 3 other people who had stumbled onto the discovery that would change human history forever. If they were right, Earth was about to be invaded by beings with technology far beyond anything humans possessed. "We have to warn someone," he said. "Who?" Jin-Ho asked. "And tell them what? That we think aliens are planning to invade based on radio signals and gravity readings?" "We tell them the truth," Hyun-woo said firmly, "and we hope they believe us." Outside, the stars continued to shine peacefully in the night sky. But beyond human sight, alien ships moved closer to Earth with each passing hour. The Watchers had finished watching. Soon it would be time to act. The massive ship floated in the cold darkness beyond Pluto. It was shaped like a giant sea creature, with smooth curves and strange lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the ship, tall alien beings moved through corridors that glowed with soft blue light. Commander Thelvo stood before a wall of screens showing images of Earth. His forearms moved quickly across glowing panels as data flowed past his large dark eyes. The planet looked so small and blue from this distance, so peaceful, so easy to conquer. "The third planet shows no signs of advanced technology," reported one of his officers. "Their energy signatures are primitive, chemical rockets, basic radio, signals. They cannot even leave their own star system properly." Thelvos nodded his elongated head. The Velkari Empire had done this many times before. Find a world with useful resources, study the local species, crush any resistance, take what they needed, move on to the next target. "How many of them are there?" he asked. "Approximately 8 billion of the dominant species. They call themselves humans, carbon-based bipeds, very fragile. Their military technology is laughably weak." The commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 8 billion was a good number, enough to provide useful labor after they broke the species' spirit. Not so many that disposal would be wasteful. "Begin final preparations," Thelvos ordered. "Admiral Kethamar wants this conquest completed quickly. The Emperor is eager to claim this system's resources." Far below on Earth's surface, Dr. Hyun-woo Kim rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. The numbers didn't make sense. For 3 days, his equipment had been detecting strange patterns in space, tiny changes in gravity, odd radio, signals that appeared and disappeared. Something was out there. Still working late? Bo-Ra Lee walked into the monitoring station carrying 2 cups of coffee. She was the best sensor operator he had ever worked with. If anyone could make sense of these readings, it would be her. "Look at this," Hyun-woo said, pointing to the display. "See these gravitational anomalies? They're too regular to be natural, and they're all coming from the same general area beyond Pluto." Bo-Ra set down the coffee and leaned closer to the screen. Her eyes widened as she saw the data. "How long have you been tracking this?" "Since Monday. At first I thought it was equipment error, but I've checked everything 3 times. The readings are real." Bo-Ra pulled up another display and began typing quickly. If these gravity readings are accurate, there's something massive out there. Really massive, like a small moon. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. We know everything in our solar system larger than a few kilometers across. There's nothing that big beyond Neptune, unless it came from somewhere else. They stared at each other in silence. Both knew what the other was thinking, but neither wanted to say it out loud. After all these years of searching for signs of alien life, had they finally found it? We need more data, Bo-Ra said finally. And we need help. Hyunwoo picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in over a year. Jinho, it's Hyunwoo Kim at the monitoring station. I need you to come in, tonight, and bring your analysis software. Jinho Park arrived 2 hours later. He was a former military strategist who now worked as a consultant for civilian defense projects. Most people thought his job was boring. They didn't know that Jinho spent his time thinking about the unthinkable. Alien invasion, nuclear war, asteroid impacts, all the disasters that kept government officials awake at night. Show me what you have, Jinho said without bothering with small talk. Hyunwoo and Bo-Ra walked him through their data, the gravitational readings, the strange radio signals, the fact that whatever was out there seemed to be moving in a pattern. Jinho studied the information for 20 minutes without speaking. His face grew more serious with each passing moment. This formation, he said finally, pointing to a cluster of gravity signatures. I've seen this before. Where? Bo-Ra asked. In war games, military simulations. It's a standard scout formation for orbital reconnaissance. You position your ships in exactly this pattern when you want to study a target from multiple angles while staying hidden. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. Ships? Multiple large objects moving in coordinated patterns, staying just far enough away to avoid easy detection, taking time to study their target before making a move. Jinho looked up at them. If I didn't know better, I'd say we're being watched by an invasion fleet. At that moment, So Young Choi burst through the door. She was the station's communications specialist, and she looked excited and terrified at the same time. I've been picking up transmissions, she said breathlessly. Encrypted signals from the same area where you're detecting those gravity anomalies. The encryption is like nothing I've ever seen. It's not human. She pulled up her analysis on another screen. Waves of data flowed past, showing radio signals that pulsed in complex patterns. I've been trying to decode them for hours, So Young continued. The structure is completely alien, but there are mathematical patterns, references to stellar coordinates, and something else. What? Hyunwoo asked. Numbers that match Earth's orbital characteristics, our planet's mass, the composition of our atmosphere. Whoever is sending these signals knows a lot about our world. The room fell silent. 4 people stared at screens showing evidence that humanity was not alone in the universe, and whatever had found them was studying Earth very carefully. Jinho was the first to speak. How long do you think they've been out there? Based on the data patterns, at least 2 weeks, Bo-Ra replied. Maybe longer. Then they've had time to learn everything they need to know about us, Jinho said grimly. Our military capabilities, our population centers, our weaknesses. Hyunwoo turned to So Young. Can you keep monitoring their communications? Already on it. But there's something else you should know. She pulled up another display. The signal strength has been increasing over the past few days. Whatever is sending these transmissions is getting closer. Bora checked her gravitational readings. She's right. The anomalies are definitely moving inward, slowly but steadily. Jin-Ho began pacing around the small room. This fits the pattern. Extended reconnaissance phase to gather intelligence. Gradual approach to avoid triggering defensive responses. When they're ready, they'll move fast. How fast? Hyun-woo asked. If this really is a military operation, they won't give us time to prepare once they start their final approach. Hours, maybe. Certainly not days. So-Young's equipment suddenly erupted with activity. New signals flooded her screens, much stronger than before. They're increasing transmission frequency, she reported. It's like they're sending final reports. To who? Bora asked. To whoever sent them here, Jin-Ho answered. If this is a scout fleet, they're reporting back to a larger force, telling them Earth is ready for conquest. Hyun-woo looked around at his small team. 3 other people who had stumbled onto the discovery that would change human history forever. If they were right, Earth was about to be invaded by beings with technology far beyond anything humans possessed. We have to warn someone, he said. Who? Jin-Ho asked. And tell them what? That we think aliens are planning to invade based on radio signals and gravity readings? We tell them the truth, Hyun-woo said firmly. And we hope they believe us. Outside, the stars continued to shine peacefully in the night sky. But beyond human sight, alien ships moved closer to Earth with each passing hour. The Watchers had finished watching. Soon it would be time to act. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim's secure phone rang at exactly 3 in the morning. The caller identification showed only a series of numbers, but the voice on the other end was calm and official. Dr. Kim, this is Director Jae-won Shin. I need you and your team to come to a specific location immediately. A car will pick you up in 10 minutes. Who is this? Hyun-woo asked. Someone who has been waiting for this day for a very long time. Bring all your data about the alien ships. Everything you've discovered is about to make sense. The black vehicles arrived exactly when promised. Hyun-woo, Min-jun, Bora, So-young, Jin-Ho, Da-eun, and Tai-min were driven through empty streets to what looked like an ordinary office building. But the elevators went down much farther than any normal building should allow. 5 levels underground, the elevator doors opened to reveal something none of them expected. A massive command center stretched out before them, filled with advanced technology and dozens of people working at computer stations. Huge screens on the walls showed images of space, Earth's atmosphere, and detailed maps of every continent. Welcome to Project Cerberus, Director Jae-won Shin said as he met them. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many secrets. We've been waiting for you. What is this place? Hyun-woo asked. Humanity's real defense system. We've been preparing for contact with hostile alien species for over 50 years. Jin-Ho looked around at the advanced equipment. This technology. Some of it looks more advanced than anything I've seen in military installations. That's because It is, J1 replied. Follow me. There's someone you need to meet. He led them deeper into the facility, past laboratories filled with strange devices and workshops, where engineers built technology that looked like it belonged in science fiction movies. Finally, they reached a large room where a woman in her 30s was working at a holographic display. This is Eugene Song, our chief engineer, Jaewon said. Eugene, these are the people who discovered our visitors. Eugene looked up from her work and smiled. Perfect timing. We just finished calibrating. The quantum shield network? Quantum shields? Daeun asked. As a physicist, she recognized the term, but had never imagined such technology was possible. One of many surprises we've prepared, Eugene replied. When people started writing science fiction about alien invasions 100 years ago, some very smart individuals in various governments asked a simple question: what if those stories were right? What if we really did face invasion someday? She gestured to the holographic display, which showed a three-dimensional map of Earth surrounded by a complex network of energy fields. Project Cerberus began in 1975, Eugene continued. Every major nation contributed resources and scientists. We studied every possibility: hostile aliens, asteroid impacts, solar flares, any threat that could destroy human civilization. But how did you develop technology this advanced? Daeun asked. By assuming our enemies would be far ahead of us technologically. We couldn't match them with conventional weapons, so we focused on defensive systems and strategies they wouldn't expect. Jaewon led them to another room where a woman was studying alien ship formations on multiple screens. Meet Yeonji Nam, our strategic analyst, he said. She's been studying the Valkyrie approach patterns since they first appeared. Yoonji looked up from her displays. They're following standard military doctrine for technological superiority scenarios, classic intimidation tactics, gradual escalation, psychological warfare designed to break enemy morale before physical combat begins. You've seen this before? Jinho asked, in simulations and historical analysis. These aliens have clearly conquered many worlds using the same basic strategy: show overwhelming force, demand surrender, crush any resistance quickly. It's very effective against primitive civilizations. But Yunwoo sensed there was more. But it only works if your enemy really is primitive and unprepared. The Valkyrie are following a script that assumes we've never encountered advanced technology before. They expect us to panic and surrender because we don't understand what we're facing. Yoonji pulled up another display showing detailed analysis of the alien ships. Look at their formation patterns, their communication protocols, their timing. Everything they're doing is designed to overwhelm a species that has never fought an interstellar war. But what if we have been preparing for exactly this scenario? Jaewon smiled grimly. Follow me. There's more you need to see. He led them to an elevator that went down even further. When the doors opened, they found themselves looking at something that took their breath away. A vast underground chamber, stretched out before them, filled with sleek spacecraft that definitely weren't built with current human technology. Meet the real Earth Defense Fleet, Jaewon said. Woo Jin Cho, a man in his 40s wearing an engineer's uniform, walked up to greet them. I'm the chief of reverse engineering. These ships are built with technology we've been developing for decades. Reverse engineering what? So Young asked. Every piece of space debris that showed unusual properties. Every meteorite with artificial characteristics. Every unexplained signal from deep space. Wu Jin gestured to the ships. The aliens have been sending scout probes to Earth for over a century. They thought we were too primitive to recognize them. Instead, we studied them and learned. Minjun stared at the alien-looking human ships. You mean those meteorites and space debris were reconnaissance probes from various alien species, including the Velkari. They've been studying us for a long time, thinking we couldn't detect their technology. But human scientists are very good at taking things apart and figuring out how they work. Yujin joined them in the hangar. Every probe they sent taught us something new. Quantum field manipulation, faster-than-light communication, energy weapons, space-time distortion drives. We couldn't match their manufacturing capabilities, but we could understand their principles and develop countermeasures. How many ships do you have? Taemin asked. Enough, Jaewon replied. But ships are only part of our defense. The real question is whether we can make the aliens underestimate us long enough to spring our trap, Yoonji called out from a nearby communication station. Director, we're receiving new intelligence from the monitoring network. Everyone gathered around her screens as she displayed fresh data about the Velkari fleet. The aliens are using quantum entanglement communicators to coordinate with their main force, she reported. Every decision, every observation, every piece of data about Earth is being transmitted instantly to their home fleet. That's good for them, Dawon said. Actually, it's good for us, Wu Jin corrected. Quantum entanglement works both ways. If we can access their communication network, we can learn everything about their capabilities and send them false information. Or better yet, Yujin added with a dangerous smile, we can send them a virus that will travel back through their quantum network and disable their entire fleet. Jinho was beginning to understand the scope of what he was seeing. You're not just planning to defend Earth. You're planning to win this war. We're planning to end it, Jaewon corrected. The Velkari Empire has conquered dozens of worlds by following the same strategy every time. Show up with overwhelming force, demand surrender, crush resistance quickly, move on to the next target. But what happens when they encounter a species that's been preparing for them? A species that studied their technology and developed countermeasures. A species that can turn their own advantages against them. On the surface, news broadcasts showed panicking crowds and helpless government officials. Military leaders gave press conferences about humanity's desperate situation. The world appeared to be exactly what the Velkari expected. A primitive civilization facing inevitable defeat. But far below ground, humanity's real defenders were making final preparations for a war the aliens never saw coming. So Young monitored alien communications as the Velkari fleet moved closer to Earth. Their messages showed complete confidence in victory. They were already discussing which human cities to preserve as labor camps and which resources to extract first. They have no idea what's waiting for them, she said quietly. That's exactly what we want them to think, Jaewon replied. In 18, Hours. The Velkari will begin their final attack. They expect to face a helpless world with primitive weapons and broken morale. What will they actually face? Hyun-woo asked. Jae-won looked up at the ceiling, knowing that somewhere far above them, alien ships were preparing to attack his world. They're about to discover that Earth has been ready for them for a very long time, and the hunters are about to become the hunted. Admiral Kethmar stood on his command bridge and watched the blue planet grow larger on his screens. Earth looked so peaceful from this distance, so unaware of what was about to happen. In 1 hour, the Velkari would begin their attack, and this world would join the long list of conquered civilizations. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Weapon systems charged. Target coordinates locked on major population centers. Begin the assault," Kethmar ordered. "Standard protocol. Eliminate government centers first. Break their command structure. Show them resistance is hopeless." Massive beams of pure energy lanced down from the Velkari fleet toward Earth's surface. Each beam carried enough power to vaporize entire city blocks. The aliens had used these same weapons to destroy the capitals of 47 other worlds. No primitive species had ever survived the opening attack. But as the energy beams struck Earth's atmosphere, something impossible happened. Brilliant shields of light appeared around every major city on the planet. The alien weapons hit the shields and simply disappeared, their energy absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. "What?" Admiral Kethmar stared at his displays in shock. "That's impossible. Our sensors showed no defensive technology." "Sir, the energy beams are being deflected by some kind of quantum barrier system," his weapons officer reported with confusion in his voice. "The technology appears to be more advanced than our own." On Earth, deep in the Project Cerberus command center, alarms and celebration mixed together as the quantum shields held against the alien attack. Yujin Song watched her displays with satisfaction as every beam was turned aside. "Shields are holding perfectly," she announced to the command center. "All cities protected. Zero damage to civilian areas." Director Jae-won Shin activated the Global Communication System. "This is Cerberus command to all defense stations. Phase 1 complete. The aliens have revealed their primary weapons. Begin Phase 2. Around the world, installations that had been disguised as research facilities suddenly came alive. Massive particle accelerators that scientists claimed were for studying atomic particles revealed their true purpose. They were the largest weapons ever built by human hands. "Aegis is fully online," reported the artificial intelligence that controlled Earth's defense network. The AI's voice was calm and precise as it coordinated defensive systems across the planet. "All hostile targets identified. Weapons charged and ready." Woo Jin-cho stood in the engineering center, his hands moving across holographic controls. "Quantum virus is prepared for transmission through their communication network. Once we access their systems, we can disable their entire fleet." Above Earth, Admiral Kethmar was trying to understand how a primitive world had technology that could stop Velkari weapons. His sensors showed energy readings that shouldn't be possible from this backward planet. "Sir, we're receiving a communication from the planet's surface," his communications officer reported. "Put it through." The message came in perfect Velkari language, which should have been impossible since the species had never made contact before. This is Earth Defense Command. Your attack has failed. Surrender now or face the consequences. Admiral Kethmar laughed, though he felt less confident than he sounded. Impossible. No primitive species has ever successfully resisted Velkari technology. We are not a primitive species, the voice replied. And you are about to learn what happens when you threaten our world. Suddenly, new contacts appeared on the Velkari sensors. Sleek ships were rising from Earth's surface and emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. The vessels moved with impossible speed and grace, their hulls shimmering with the same energy that powered the defensive shields. "Sir, those ships are using quantum drive systems," the tactical officer reported with growing panic. "Their technology matches our own." "That's impossible," Kethmar repeated, but his confidence was cracking. "Scan their weapon systems." The results made his blood run cold. The human ships carried weapons that could tear through Velkari armor like paper. Energy systems that bent space and time. Defensive shields that were actually more advanced than anything in the alien fleet. In the Cerberus Command Center, Yunji, Nam coordinated the counterattack with military precision. Alpha Squadron, target their command ships. Beta Squadron, disable their communication arrays. Gamma Squadron, prepare to intercept any ships that try to retreat. The human ships moved like dancers in space, their movements coordinated by the Aegis artificial intelligence. Beams of pure energy reached out from Earth's defenders, striking Velkari vessels with surgical precision. "Direct hit on alien flagship," reported one of the squadron leaders. "Their shields are down, hull integrity failing." Admiral Kethmar felt his ship shake as human weapons found their mark. Systems failed around him as energy cascaded through his ship's hull. This wasn't supposed to happen. Primitive species didn't have technology that could threaten Velkari vessels. "Retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "Contact the main fleet. Tell them we need reinforcements." "Sir, our quantum communication array has been disabled," his communications officer reported. "We cannot reach the main fleet." Minjun Lee sat in the translation center, listening to panicked alien communications that So Young's equipment was intercepting. The Velkari were using their own language, now dropping the mathematical codes they had used for secret communications. "They're scared," Minjun reported to the command center. "Their messages are full of words that translate to panic, confusion, impossible. They keep saying this shouldn't be happening." "What else are they saying?" Director Jae-won asked. "They're trying to figure out how we developed advanced technology so quickly. Some of them think we must be allies of another alien species. Others believe we captured and reverse-engineered their scout ships. They're not entirely wrong about that second part," Woo Jin commented from his engineering station. Da-eun Kim was analyzing the alien ships as the battle continued. "Their technology is impressive, but it's designed for fighting primitive civilizations. They've never had to face an enemy with comparable weapons." "What do you mean?" Hyun-woo asked. "Look at their ship formations, their weapon systems. Everything is built for overwhelming technological superiority. When they can't simply crush their enemy with advanced technology, they don't know how to adapt. Yujin was monitoring the battle from her engineering station. Their shields are failing faster than they can repair them. Our weapons are specifically designed to counter their defensive systems, because we've been studying their technology. For decades, Jaewon noted with satisfaction, the tide of battle was turning rapidly. Velkari ships that had seemed invincible minutes earlier were now limping through space with failing systems. Human vessels darted between them like wolves, hunting much larger prey. "Sir, we've lost 12 ships," Admiral Kethmar's tactical officer reported. "The remaining vessels are heavily damaged. We cannot continue this engagement." Kethmar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In less than an hour, his invasion fleet had been reduced to a collection of damaged ships, fleeing from an enemy they had expected to crush easily. "How?" he whispered. "How did they know?" His science officer looked up from his analysis station. "Sir, I'm detecting quantum signatures from their weapons that match our own technology, but there are improvements we don't understand." "Improvements?" "They've taken our basic designs and made them better, more efficient, more powerful. It's like they've had centuries to study and improve our technology." In the Cerberus Command Center, Taimin Yoon was coordinating with military forces around the world. "All civilian populations remain safe. No damage to any major cities. Enemy fleet is in full retreat." "Should we pursue?" asked one of the squadron leaders. "Negative," Director Jaewon replied. "Let them run. We want survivors to tell their story," Wu Jin looked up from his engineering displays. "The quantum virus is ready for deployment. If we can access just one of their communication systems, we can send it through their entire network." "Do it," Jaewon ordered. Across space, invisible data flowed from human computers into the Velkari communication network. The virus was elegant in its simplicity. It used the aliens' own quantum entanglement system to spread throughout their empire, disabling ships and installations on dozens of worlds. Admiral Kethmar watched in horror as his remaining ships began shutting down one by one. Systems that had worked perfectly for centuries were failing as alien code invaded their networks. "Sir, it's spreading through our quantum communication array," his technical officer reported. "The humans have somehow infected our entire network." "Cut all connections to the main fleet," Kethmar ordered desperately. "Too late, sir. The virus has already transmitted through the quantum link. It's spreading to every Velkari ship in the galaxy." As his flagship systems continued to fail around him, Admiral Kethmar realized the terrible truth. The humans had not just defended their world, they had launched a counterattack that was spreading across the entire Velkari Empire. The species he had planned to enslave in a few hours had instead dealt a crippling blow to one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. And they had done it with technology that the Velkari themselves had unknowingly provided through decades of careless reconnaissance. Earth's first interstellar war was already over. The surviving Velkari ships limped through space, their hulls cracked and their systems failing. Admiral Kethmar sat in his damaged command chair, staring at reports that made no sense. In less than 2 hours, his mighty invasion fleet had been reduced to a handful of barely functioning vessels. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from across the Empire," his communications officer reported. Ships throughout Velkari space are reporting system failures. The human virus is spreading faster than we can contain it. Kethmar closed his eyes. The quantum virus was using their own communication network to spread from ship to ship, planet to planet. Every Velkari installation connected to the quantum grid was vulnerable. "How many ships have been affected?" he asked. "Over 3,000. So far, sir. And the number is growing every minute." On Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo Kim watched the global displays in the Cerberus Command Center. Green dots representing human ships were moving through the solar system, while red dots showed the retreating alien vessels. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The virus has reached 17 different star systems, Woo Jin Cho reported from his engineering station. Velkari ships are going offline across their entire territory. Director Jae-won Shin studied the intelligence reports flowing in from human monitoring stations. Their empire is in chaos. Ship commanders are losing contact with their home worlds. Military units are stranded without support. Yoo-jin Song was analyzing captured alien technology from the damaged ships. Their systems are completely dependent on the quantum communication network. Without it, they can't coordinate fleet movements or supply their forces. It's like cutting the telephone lines of an entire civilization, Da-Yun Kim observed. Except, these telephone lines also control their life support, navigation, and weapon systems. Bo-Ra Lee monitored space around Earth as human ships began to spread out through the solar system. Our reconnaissance vessels are detecting more Velkari positions, hidden supply bases, staging areas for their main invasion force. How many more ships are out there? Hyunwoo asked. Thousands, Jin-Ho Park replied, reviewing tactical analyses. But they're scattered across dozens of star systems, and now they can't talk to each other. In the linguistics center, Min-Jun Lee was translating increasingly desperate alien communications. The orderly military language of the Velkari had given way to confused and frightened transmissions. They're calling this the Impossible War, Min-Jun reported. Their commanders are asking how a primitive species could have technology superior to their own. What kind of responses are they getting? So Young Choi asked from her communication station. Panic, confusion, orders to retreat to defensive positions. Some commanders are refusing to believe the reports and demanding proof. Yoonji Nam plotted alien positions on her strategic displays. The Velkari Empire is fragmenting. Without central communication, their military units are acting independently. Some are trying to continue offensive operations. Others are pulling back to defend their homeworlds. That works in our favor, Director Jae-won noted. A divided enemy is much easier to defeat than a unified one. Tae-min Yoon was coordinating with Earth's new space-based defense network. Human ships were taking positions throughout the solar system, ready to intercept any additional alien forces that might arrive. Sir, we're detecting quantum signatures from the direction of the Centauri system, one of the ship captains reported. Multiple contacts. Looks like a Velkari relief fleet. How many ships? Jae-won asked. At least 50. Much larger vessels than the first wave. These look like their main battle fleet. Admiral Kethmar received the same intelligence from his few remaining functional sensors. The second battle fleet was approaching Earth, unaware that the first invasion had failed catastrophically. Try to warn them, he ordered his communications officer. "Sir, our long-range communications are still offline. The virus has corrupted our quantum transmitters. Use conventional radio signals, light speed, communications, anything. Sir, even if we reach them, they won't arrive for another 6 hours, and they don't know what they're flying into." On Earth, human strategists were planning their next move. The approaching Velkari fleet was much larger than the first wave, but it was also unaware of humanity's true capabilities. They're expecting to find a conquered world, Yunji analyzed. Their formation suggests they're coming in to occupy Earth and establish military bases. Instead, they'll find a trap, Yujin added. Our quantum shields are fully charged, our weapons are ready, and we know exactly where they're going to arrive. Wujin was working on improvements to their defensive systems. The virus has given us access to Velkari technical databases. We're learning how their technology works at the deepest levels. What have you discovered? Daun asked. Their ships are actually less advanced than we thought. They rely heavily on intimidation and overwhelming numbers. But their individual vessels are vulnerable to the right kind of attack. Minjun continued monitoring alien communications as the virus spread through Velkari space. I'm picking up transmissions from their homeworlds. They're starting to realize the scope of what's happened. What are they saying? Emergency sessions of their ruling council. Military commanders being recalled. Some are calling for immediate peace negotiations. And others? Hyun-woo asked. Others are calling for total war. They want to send their entire fleet to destroy Earth before we can spread our influence further. So Young detected new signal patterns from deep space. The approaching fleet is trying to contact the first invasion force. They don't know why they're not getting responses. Let them stay confused, Director Jae-won decided. The less they know about what happened here, the better. As the hours passed, more intelligence flowed in about the state of the Velkari Empire. The quantum virus had spread to hundreds of worlds, disabling military installations and leaving their forces scattered and confused. Their economy is collapsing, Da-yun reported after analyzing intercepted data. The Velkari depend on tribute from conquered worlds. Without their military to enforce tribute collection, their supply lines are breaking down. Rebellions are breaking out on occupied worlds, Minjun added, translating urgent alien communications. Species they conquered are seeing this as an opportunity to fight for their freedom. Yujin looked up from her engineering displays. We may have started something much bigger than just defending Earth. The entire Velkari Empire is falling apart. Good, Director Jae-won said firmly. Any civilization built on conquering and enslaving others deserves to fall. The approaching Velkari battle fleet continued toward Earth, unaware that they were flying into a system controlled by an enemy they had vastly underestimated. Their quantum communications remained offline, leaving them blind to the fate of their advance force. Admiral Kethmar watched his few remaining ships drift powerlessly through space. Systems that had worked perfectly for centuries continued to fail as the human virus corrupted their technology. Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from Earth, his communications officer announced. Put it through. The message came in perfect. Velkari, spoken by the human linguist who had learned their language in a matter of hours. This is Earth Defense Command. Your invasion has failed. Your empire is falling. You have one choice. Surrender now, and we will allow you to live. Continue your aggression, and we will hunt down every Velkari ship in the galaxy. Admiral Kethmar stared at his screens, watching as more human ships appeared throughout the solar system. Sleek vessels that moved with impossible grace, armed with weapons that had already proven superior to anything in the Velkari arsenal. "Sir, what are your orders?" his tactical officer asked. Kethmar looked at the blue planet that had destroyed his fleet and infected his empire with a virus that was still spreading. The species he had planned to enslave had instead turned his hunters into the hunted. "Prepare. A message for transmission," he said quietly. "We surrender." Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim stood in the main command center of Project Cerberus, watching displays that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where the Velkari Empire was collapsing. Green zones showed worlds that had declared their freedom. Yellow zones indicated regions where fighting was still happening. "The second Velkari fleet will arrive in 4 hours," Director Jae-won Shin announced to the assembled team. "We need to decide how to handle them." "How many ships?" Yujin Song asked from her engineering station. 57 vessels, much larger than the first wave. These are their main battle cruisers. Jae-won pulled up detailed scans on the central display. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a moon. Da-eun Kim studied the technical readings. "But they're still using the same basic technology as the first fleet. Our quantum shield should hold against their weapons. The question is what message we want to send," Yoonji Nam said from her strategic planning station. "Do we simply defend Earth again, or do we make a statement that the entire galaxy will see?" Woo Jin-cho looked up from his engineering displays. "With the quantum virus still spreading through their network, anything we do here will be broadcast to every surviving Velkari installation. Whatever happens in the next few hours will be seen across their entire empire." Min-jun Lee was monitoring alien communications from the approaching fleet. "They're still trying to contact the first invasion force. Their messages are getting more worried as they get closer to Earth." "What are they saying?" So Young Choi asked. "Standard check-in protocols, requests for status updates, orders for the advance fleet to respond." Min-jun paused as he translated another message. "Now they're asking if there are technical problems with the communication systems." "Let them keep wondering," Director Jae-won decided. "The less they know about what happened here, the more shocked they'll be when they arrive." Bo-Ra Lee was tracking the movement of human ships throughout the solar system. "Our defense fleet is in position. All weapon systems are charged and ready. The quantum shield network is operating at full capacity." "Sir, I have an idea," Tae Min-yoon said from his military coordination station. "Instead of just defeating this fleet, what if we use them to send a message to the entire Velkari Empire?" "What kind of message?" Hyun-woo asked. "A demonstration that humanity isn't just defending our own world. We're capable of projecting power anywhere in the galaxy. We can protect other species from Velkari aggression. Eugen's eyes lit up with understanding. Operation Lighthouse. We've been planning this for years. Explain, Director J1 ordered. We use our quantum drive ships to appear simultaneously in multiple Velkari star systems. Not to attack, but to demonstrate our capability. Show them that nowhere in their empire is safe from human intervention. Daun was already running calculations. Our ships can use quantum tunneling to appear instantly at any location in the galaxy. If we coordinate the demonstration properly, we can show up at a dozen Velkari worlds at the same time. What would be the point? Jinho Park asked. Psychological. Warfare, Yunji explained. The Velkari have spent centuries conquering other species through intimidation. They show overwhelming force to break enemy morale. We turn that strategy against them. Wu Jin was working at his control station. I can modify our quantum communicators to broadcast on all Velkari frequencies simultaneously. Whatever we do, every surviving alien ship and base will see it happen in real time. And what message do we send? Director J1 asked. Min Jun thought carefully before answering. We tell them that the age of Velkari expansion is over. That humanity will protect any world threatened by their aggression. That they can choose peace or face the consequences. I like it, Director J1 decided. Begin preparations for Operation Lighthouse. As the human team prepared their demonstration, the Velkari Second Battle Fleet continued toward Earth. Admiral Vexthar commanded the massive force from his flagship, a vessel 3 times larger than any ship in the first wave. Still no response from Admiral Kethmar's fleet, his communications officer reported. We should have made contact hours ago. Perhaps they're maintaining communications silence as part of their occupation strategy, Admiral Vexthar suggested, though he was growing concerned. Sir, our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures from the Earth system. Very powerful quantum field fluctuations. Elaborate. The readings suggest massive defensive installations, much more advanced than our intelligence reports indicated. Admiral Vexthar frowned. That's impossible. Our reconnaissance showed a primitive civilization with basic chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. On Earth, final preparations for Operation Lighthouse were nearly complete. Human ships throughout the solar system were charging their quantum drive systems, preparing to appear at targets across Velkari space. All squadrons report ready, Eugen announced. Quantum drives are synchronized. We can appear at 12 different Velkari systems simultaneously. Communication systems are prepared, So Young added. We can broadcast to every Velkari receiver in the galaxy. Min Jun had finished preparing the message that would accompany the demonstration. The translation is complete. It should be impossible for them to misunderstand our meaning. What does it say? Hyun Woo asked. This is humanity. You call us primitive, but we have been watching you for centuries. We know your weaknesses. We know your worlds. We know your history of conquest. You have one chance. Leave us alone and leave other species alone, or we will show you what a truly advanced civilization can do to those who threaten the innocent. Director J1 nodded approvingly. Simple, direct, impossible to misinterpret. Sir, The Velkari fleet will arrive in 30 minutes, Taemin reported. Begin Operation Lighthouse. Across the galaxy, human ships appeared without warning in Velkari star systems. The vessels materialized near major military bases, orbital platforms, and fleet anchorages. They didn't attack. They simply appeared, demonstrating that humanity could reach any location in Velkari space whenever they chose. At the same time, every functional Velkari communication system received the human message. The transmission came with mathematical proof of human technological capabilities and images of the destroyed First Invasion fleet. On dozens of Velkari worlds, alien commanders stared at their displays in shock. Ships that appeared from nowhere. Technology that surpassed their own. A species they had never heard of before, delivering ultimatums to one of the galaxy's greatest empires. Admiral Vexithar received the transmission just as his fleet arrived, at Earth's solar system. He watched in disbelief as the message played, showing the destruction of Admiral Kethmar's supposedly invincible forces. "Sir, we're detecting the human ships," his tactical officer reported. "They're surrounding our fleet." "How many?" 200 vessels, all of them more advanced than anything in our database. Admiral Vexthar looked at the tactical display showing his 57 ships completely outnumbered by an enemy that had already proven capable of destroying Velkari forces. "Sir, incoming transmission from the planet's surface," his communications officer announced. "Put it through." The message came in perfect Velkari, spoken by a calm human voice. "This is Earth Defense Command. You have seen what happened to your advance fleet. You have seen our ships appear throughout your empire. Your choice is simple: surrender and return to your home worlds, or share the fate of those who came before you." Admiral Vexthar studied his displays. His ships were outnumbered, 4-1 by an enemy with superior technology. His empire was collapsing as the human virus continued to spread through their networks. Rebellions were breaking out on conquered worlds. "Sir, what are your orders?" his second-in-command asked. Admiral Vexthar had spent his entire career conquering weaker species. He had never faced an enemy more advanced than his own forces. The humans had turned the Velkari's own strategy against them, using overwhelming technological superiority to break enemy morale. "Send a message to all ships," he ordered. "We surrender. All vessels are to power down weapons and prepare for escort to the edge of this system." Across Velkari space, other fleet commanders were making similar decisions. Faced with human ships that could appear anywhere and weapons that could destroy their vessels, the alien empire was choosing survival over conquest. The message Earth had sent to the galaxy was clear. The age of Velkari expansion was over, and humanity was prepared to enforce that declaration across the stars. 3 days after Operation Lighthouse, the Velkari Empire was falling apart faster than anyone had expected. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim watched intelligence reports flowing into the Project Cerberus command center from across the galaxy. What had started, as Earth's defense was now reshaping the balance of power among the stars. 63 Velkari worlds have declared independence from the Empire, Min-Jun Lee reported from his translation station. They're forming their own governments and asking for human protection. 17 more worlds are in open rebellion, So Young Choi added, monitoring alien communications. The local populations are fighting Velkari occupation forces. Director Jae-won Shin studied the holographic display showing the galaxy's changing political landscape. Red zones that had once marked Velkari territory were fragmenting into dozens of different colors as worlds broke away from Imperial control. The quantum virus is still spreading, Woo Jin-cho reported from his engineering station. Every time they try to restore their communication network, the virus adapts and spreads further. Yoo-jin Song was analyzing data from human ships stationed throughout the galaxy. Our vessels are receiving distress calls from dozens of species. Some are asking for protection from Velkari forces. Others want help fighting for their freedom. What about the Velkari home worlds? Da-eun Kim asked. Complete chaos, Min-jun replied, translating intercepted communications. Their ruling council is in emergency session. Military commanders are being recalled from all frontier zones. Some are calling for peace negotiations. Others want to launch a final attack against Earth using their planet-killer weapons. The room fell silent. Planet-killer weapons were theoretical devices that could destroy entire worlds. If the Velkari actually possessed such weapons, they could end human civilization even if they lost their empire in the process. How real is this threat? Director Jae-won asked. Very real, Da-eun answered after reviewing technical data. Our analysis of captured Velkari technology shows they have weapons capable of destabilizing a planet's core. They've never used them because they prefer to conquer worlds intact, but in desperation. They might decide that if they can't have the galaxy, no one can. Yoon-ji Nam finished the thought from her strategic analysis station. Bo-Ra Lee was tracking Velkari fleet movements throughout space. We're detecting massive ship concentrations around their core worlds. It looks like they're pulling back all their remaining forces for a final defense. Or a final attack, Jin-Ho Park added grimly. Tae-min Yoon was coordinating with human defense forces that were now spread across dozens of star systems. Our ships are reporting the same thing everywhere. Velkari forces are withdrawing to their home territory. But they're not retreating randomly. They're forming up for something big. In the depths of Velkari space, Emperor Thaxamor sat on his throne and listened to reports that would have been unthinkable just days earlier. His empire, built over thousands of years of conquest, was crumbling in a matter of hours. How many worlds have we lost? He asked his military advisor. 87, Your Imperial Majesty, and the number grows every hour. How is this possible? We are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The humans were more prepared than our intelligence indicated. Their technology is superior to ours in several key areas. Emperor Thaxamor stood and walked to the massive windows of his palace. Outside, he could see Velkari warships gathering in orbit. The most powerful fleet ever assembled was preparing for what might be the Empire's last battle. What do the military commanders recommend? The fleet admirals are divided, Your Majesty. Some want to negotiate with the humans. Others are calling for the use of the Stellar Disruption Array. The Stellar Disruption Array was the Velkari Empire's most terrible secret. Hidden in the depths of space, It was a weapon capable of causing stars to collapse into black holes. Entire solar systems could be destroyed with a single activation. If we use the array against the human system, what are the consequences? Total destruction of their species and their homeworld. But the humans have ships throughout our territory now. They would certainly retaliate against our own worlds. On Earth, human scientists were working frantically to understand the full scope of the Velkari threat. Intelligence gathered from captured alien databases had revealed weapons and technologies that made their original invasion fleet look primitive. "They have installations we never detected," Eugene reported to the command staff. "Hidden bases in empty regions of space, weapons platforms that could threaten entire star systems." "The most dangerous is something called the Stellar Disruption Array," Daun added. "According to their technical specifications, it can cause a star to collapse by manipulating quantum fields in the stellar core." "How long would it take them to use this weapon against our sun?" Director J1 asked. "If they activate it now, our star could become unstable within days. The entire solar system would be destroyed. Can we stop it?" "Not with conventional weapons. The array is heavily defended and located in deep space. We would need to get close enough to disable it directly." Hyunwoo studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. They're desperate enough to destroy their own empire rather than accept defeat. "It gets worse," Minjun said from his communication station. "I'm intercepting messages from Velkari commanders discussing something they call the final protocol." "What is that?" "If they can't defeat us militarily, they plan to use their planet-killer weapons against every world that has declared independence from their empire. They would rather rule over ashes than lose control." "How many worlds would that affect?" Yunji asked. "Hundreds. Billions of innocent beings would die." The magnitude of the threat was staggering. In trying to defend Earth, humanity had triggered a galactic crisis that could result in the destruction of countless civilizations. "We have to stop them," Director J1 declared. "How?" Eugene asked. "Their core worlds are heavily defended. The Stellar Disruption Array is hidden somewhere in deep space, and they have weapons that could destroy planets faster than we can reach them." "We use their own weakness against them," Woojin said suddenly. "Explain." "The Velkari depend completely on their quantum communication network. It's how they coordinate their fleets, control their weapons, and maintain their empire. The virus we created has been disrupting their communications, but what if we could do more, such as take complete control of their network, override their command systems, turn their own weapons against them?" Da-Yun's eyes widened with understanding. "If we could access their central command network, we could disable their planet-killer weapons before they can use them." "It's possible," Eugene agreed, "but we would need to get close to their primary communication hub, and that's located on their most heavily defended world." "Then that's where we go," Director Jaewon decided. Minjun looked up from his translation work with a grim expression. "There's something else you need to know. The Velkari have activated their final protocol. They're giving their own species 24 hours to evacuate their core worlds before they begin the planet-killing campaign. They're going to destroy their own empire rather than lose it," Hyunwoo realized. "Unless we stop them first," Director Jaewon said firmly. Across the galaxy, the countdown to destruction had begun. The Velkari Empire, faced with the collapse of their 1,000-year reign, was preparing to take as much of the galaxy with them as possible. But humanity had learned something important about their enemy. The aliens who had seemed so advanced and powerful were actually fragile and dependent on systems that could be turned against them. The question was whether Earth's defenders could reach the heart of the Velkari Empire in time to prevent the greatest act of genocide in galactic history. The hunters had become the hunted, but in their desperation, they were preparing to become destroyers of worlds. 6 months after the failed Velkari invasion, Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim stood in the observation deck of the New Earth Defense Command Station. Through the transparent walls, he could see human ships patrolling the space around Earth alongside vessels from 17 different species that had joined what was now called the Galactic Defense Alliance. The final battle against the Velkari Empire had lasted only 18 hours. Human ships had reached the alien homeworld just as Emperor Thaxmor was preparing to activate the Stellar Disruption Array. Instead of destroying their enemies, humanity had offered the collapsing empire a choice: surrender and join the new galactic community, or face complete isolation from the rest of civilization. Status report from the outer systems, So Young Choi announced from her expanded communication center. She now coordinated messages between dozens of worlds in multiple languages, helped by translation software that Min Jun had developed. The former Velkari territories are stabilizing, she continued. Most worlds have established democratic governments. Trade routes are reopening. The refugee crisis is finally under control. Bo-Ra Lee monitored space traffic that would have been unimaginable just months earlier. Ships from species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together to rebuild what the Velkari Empire had destroyed. Incoming transport from the Centauri system, she reported. Former Admiral Kethmar is arriving for the peace negotiations. The alien commander who had once planned to enslave humanity was now one of the leaders working to transform the remnants of the Velkari Empire into what they called the Velkan Federation. It had taken months of careful diplomacy, but even the former conquerors were learning to live peacefully with their neighbors. Min Jun Lee had become Earth's chief diplomatic translator, a job that required him to facilitate communication between species that had never spoken to each other as equals. His translation systems now worked with 43 different languages from across the galaxy. The trade agreement between the Andorian Republic and the Velkan Federation has been finalized, he reported. 2 species that were enemies for 300 years are now business partners. Any problems? Director Jaewon Shin asked from his position as head of the new Galactic Coordination Council. Some cultural misunderstandings, but nothing we can't solve with patience and good translation work. Yoojin Song and Woojin Cho had spent the past months sharing defensive technology with allied worlds while being careful not to create new imbalances of power. Their quantum shield systems now protected dozens of planets from any future attempts at conquest. The technology sharing program is ahead of schedule, Yoojin reported. Every world in the Alliance now has basic defensive capabilities. No single species will ever again be able to threaten others through superior weapons. What about our own defenses? Hyun-Woo asked. better than ever. But more importantly, we're not the only ones with advanced technology anymore. The galaxy is becoming a much more balanced place. Dayun Kim had established the Galactic Ethics Council, working with philosophers and leaders from across the known worlds to create guidelines that would prevent future wars of conquest. Her work was ensuring that the mistakes of the Velkari Empire would not be repeated by any other civilization. "We finalized the Sanctuary Protocol," she announced. "All Alliance members have agreed that no advanced civilization may interfere with developing worlds without invitation. The age of forced conquest is officially over." "How are the developing worlds responding?" Director Jae-won asked. "They're grateful for the protection. Several have asked for limited contact to help with medical emergencies or natural disasters. But they're developing at their own pace, in their own way." Eunji Nam served as the Alliance's chief strategic coordinator, maintaining the delicate balance of power that kept peace between dozens of different species and governments. Her greatest challenge wasn't military anymore, but diplomatic. Quarterly review shows continued stability across all sectors, she reported. Trade is increasing. Military conflicts have dropped to the lowest levels in recorded galactic history. The mutual defense treaties are working. Any threats on the horizon? Nothing major. A few minor disputes over mining rights and trade routes, but those are being resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. Tae Min-yoon coordinated the Alliance's communication networks, ensuring that information flowed freely between member worlds. His systems had replaced the centralized Velkari network with something more democratic and harder to corrupt or control. "All communication systems are operating normally," he reported. "News, diplomatic messages, and emergency signals are reaching their destinations without interference. The galaxy is more connected than ever before, but no single power controls the flow of information." Jin-Ho Park worked with military leaders from across the Alliance to develop new strategies for keeping the peace. Instead of planning for conquest, military forces now focused on disaster relief, rescue operations, and defending against any remaining threats to galactic stability. "The joint training exercises went well," he reported. "Species that used to fight each other are now learning to work together. We're building the first truly integrated galactic defense force." Former Admiral Kethmar entered the command center, his tall alien form moving carefully among the much shorter humans. The Velkari commander had spent months learning to work with the species he had once planned to enslave. "The Velkan Federation Council sends its gratitude," he said in heavily accented but understandable human language. "Our worlds are prospering under the new system of government." "How are your people adapting to democracy?" Hyun-woo asked. "It is difficult. We spent so long conquering others that we forgot how to govern ourselves. But we are learning, and we are grateful that humanity showed us mercy when you could have shown us destruction." "We're all learning," Director Jae-won replied. "Humans included. 6 months ago, we had never spoken to another intelligent species. Now we're helping coordinate an alliance of dozens of civilizations. Your species has a gift for bringing others together," Kethmar observed. "Perhaps that is why you succeeded where we failed. Minjun was monitoring communications from across the galaxy when he detected something that made him smile. "I'm receiving a message from the edge of known space. It's from a species called the Zephyrians. They've heard about the Alliance and want to make contact." "Another new member?" So Young asked. "Possibly. They say they've been hiding from the Velkari Empire for centuries. Now that the Empire is gone, they want to join the galactic community." Yujin looked up from her engineering displays. "That makes the 5th new species to contact us this month. Word is spreading that the galaxy is safe for peaceful civilizations again. And it will stay that way," Director Jaewon declared. "The Alliance Charter guarantees that no world will face conquest alone again." As the day ended, Hyunwoo often found himself thinking about how much had changed. 6 months earlier, he had been a simple scientist studying space from a monitoring station on Earth. Now he was part of a council that helped govern relationships between dozens of intelligent species across the galaxy. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth had instead awakened something they never expected. Not superior weapons or advanced technology, though humanity had both. They had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to bring different peoples together in common cause. The Velkari had ruled through fear and conquest. Humanity led through cooperation and mutual defense. The difference had reshaped the galaxy. "Final report of the day," Taman announced as the command center prepared to switch to night operations. "All Alliance worlds report peaceful conditions. Trade routes are secure. No military threats detected. The galaxy remains at peace." Outside the station's windows, ships from dozens of worlds moved peacefully through space. Species that had never known freedom were building new civilizations. Worlds that had lived in fear were exploring the stars for the first time. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet whose people had learned that the greatest victories came not from defeating enemies, but from turning them into friends.